Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to Mechabellum. In today's video, I've got a bit of a special game for you guys, as I don't often play Sledgehammer, but in this game I will. And yeah, we've got some melter action at the end as well to try and fend off this push by Riddle, strong aggro player from the 201 region. Now, obviously, you kind of know what I'll be picking here. My chat was screaming, oh, we need quad sledge opener, and so I said, say no more, let's give it a try. And we pick up the fangs and the sledges with a quick supply to have an additional 200 resources to spend from round 1. Opponent here goes for sledgehammers with the marksman start and picks up 2 arclights to be able to deal with the chaff. So no chaff start. And he is a Farseer spec, one of the strongest specialists in the game. Very powerful turn 3 power spike. Now, I kind of knew he was going to be pushing me. And whenever that happens, it's not ideal to go for this type of quad sledge opener. I think this does way better if your opponent plays symmetrical. Mainly because you know that half of your board here won't be able to deal with... I won't really be joining the fight early on. And so in this case, the right side of my board won't be joining the fight too quickly. So I might still get overrun here because technically speaking, it is still double sledge versus double sledge. And then he's got 2 or even 3 marksmen DPSing down my sledgehammers on top of things. Can speed things up a little bit here. Nothing too crazy on round 1. You can see the engagement happen. My fangs go in the front as I was expecting a push, and so I don't mind having those fangs over there for now. The main plan for me is going to be to try and work my way towards Mech Rage, hopefully get some levels along the way, and Mech Rage will also allow my sledges to kind of join the fight a bit quicker. Opponent here gets the debuff, and so that will help him thin out all of my sledges. I might be able to kill this sledge. Maybe I can kill the marksman as well. That's going to be the question. And yeah, just about. But you can see here, with 200 extra spent in the first round, because of that ASIM push, we barely managed to win. Round number 2, we get 3 unit drops. Sabertooth, Stormcaller, Phantom Ray, and Crawler. Now, I thought my opponent here might go Phantom Ray, as I don't really have good anti-air. The crawlers are fine as well. Pretty decent. 2 level 2 crawlers this early on can definitely cause some mayhem. And yeah, otherwise here, I mean, opponents could maybe take something like the Stormcallers. I do have the forward fangs, but I wouldn't be too scared of it if he did pick it. Especially because I do plan to go Mech Rage, and Stormcallers don't tend to do too well into Sledgehammers once they get levels and techs. Opponent does pick that up, so trying to get some early value here from the Stormcallers into the fangs, and goes triple deployments and gets his chaff, triple crawler. Now I'm still thinking here, bunch of options available. And yeah, Stormcaller here didn't seem too great because I don't like them that much into pushes. And Phantom Ray into the marksman, I wasn't too sure. I end up going for the crawlers instead. 1 behind the tower and 1 all the way in the back. Hoping these will arrive a bit later on. Maybe some of the arclights will be damaged or will have died. And then these can cause some problems during the mid-round. I also do pick up 2 marksmen because I wanted to cover myself against a potential phantom play. And I put a missile here on the right because I thought, well, maybe he would try to flank me with some type of air unit. Sledges here will do just fine on the left. Arclights will turn though to try and kill those level 2 crawlers, and they are worth quite a bit of experience, so this might level up relatively quickly. Sledgehammers on the right side are doing fine still. In the middle though, we're struggling somewhat to kill those crawlers, but that will all be remedied once we get Mech Rage, hopefully. Marksman, making sure that we get rid of those sledgehammers. There's still 1 marksman left though, and this guy is level 2, so he one-shots my sledges. And that does not look good at all. Oh no, disaster has struck as we try to go for the tower, but it's not going to be in time. And that marksman just absolutely demolishes us there on round number 2. As we enter round 3, intensive training shows up. And I was considering it. My opponent does pick it up, but I was doing the math in my head. Okay, if I skip, I go up to 700. I kind of want double level plus mech rage. That'll cost me 500. I'd have 200 left, which would be just enough to get 2 deployments down. And yeah, I don't really want to skip out on the deployment here by clicking intensive. It'll be hard to use. And so instead, we just forego that scaling spell, and instead we try and go for the tempo. We grab 2 more crawlers, or rather 1 crawler and 1 fang. And that's going to be the round. My opponent goes for the Farseer, well, goes for it, gets it from the game as his specialist, and then also decides to immediately intensive training it. Now this is a very powerful unit this early on, especially with the level very good into things like sledges, so this definitely could be a problem for us in the coming rounds. Crawlers are still doing very well, and yeah, the awkward bit for me is that my right side is stronger than my left side, but the left side is where I'm getting pushed in. So it's a bit of a weird crossfire situation where I'm trying to get some value on the right side, maybe grab a debuff and then kind of loop around and help my main army again. However, most of these rounds so far, there is no main army left anymore. And this time again, yeah, Farseer there doing a fantastic job, and that marksman still firing away. And so round 3 is for Riddle as well. Round number 4, wasn't too happy with this. Enhancement module shows up immediately after the intensive, and I didn't pick it up, so bit of a shame. But my opponent decides to skip it and instead goes for mass-produced Phoenix. I, on the other hand, get advanced power system, which, all things considered, is not that bad at all, because it will allow me to have the additional speed to, again, kind of loop back and pincer on my opponent with my strong sledges, right? I also decide to put a crawler here in the corner with the speed I'm hoping to get to his tower and grab a debuff. And my opponent goes for a very cheeky flank here, trying to avoid the missile but still get into the tower. And so you see a missile here, and where is that going to go? Is it going to go for the fangs, or is it going to go for the crawlers? I was kind of hoping it would go for the fangs, because that way I might be able to get into his tower in time, and it looks like that might be the case. I think these fangs are sticking out a little bit further into its range than the crawlers, but we'll have to see how that goes. Round 4, I get the second tech immediately on the Sledgehammers, and 2 more chaff packs, as I was willing to get these techs so that at least I'd be set. I have my range, I have my mech rage, kind of the main techs you want on Sledgehammer if you want to use them as a kind of pseudo carry, and then we can always worry about numbers later on, but at least we'll have the teching over with for now. Opponent goes for the mass-produced phoenixes, 1 on the side, 2 on the front. And the crawlers don't get missiled. That's very good for me. Let's see how fast these phoenixes are going to be. The crawlers on the tower, only level 1, so it will go down first. Lovely stuff there. Phoenixes are on my tower, but with the debuff, you might just be able to kill enough stuff so that the debuff won't bother us too much. Crawlers are doing a fantastic job there. Oh, but now the debuff comes through. Phoenix there, moving in. We need to keep our marksmen alive to be able to get rid of these guys, and there's still 5 of them. But look at how many sledges we have. And the damage is kind of starting to ramp up, even for that level 2 Farseer. 1 marksman left alive, will kill the Arclight. Tower won't quite go down for us. Marksman also bites the dust, and then we'll finish off the Phoenixes with our remaining marksmen. A good round there, and a close game so far. Both of us sitting at around 3.3, 3.2k. Round number 5. Things starting to heat up. We get Smoke Bomb, Absorption Module, Nano Repair Kit. All valid choices, I would say. Opponent goes for the Smoke Bomb. Nano Repair or Absorption. Great items for Giants, but I wasn't really feeling like I wanted to play Giants. I kind of wanted to just keep playing Sledges if I could. And so here I go for Smoke Bomb as well, trying to make sure that I might hit the opponent marksman, the Farseer. And a lot of aggro players will be greedy, and so won't try and shield. And I was kind of hoping that that would work. I decided to put a fang on the outside here to try and protect against the phoenixes if he decides to keep them there and kind of call my bluff. We level all the sledges. We add another sledge in front of the left tower. Opponent goes for level 2 arc light to try and deal with my crawlers, and that will be successful. Adds an arc light here in the flank as well. Ranged arc lights are very common, whether you're defending or playing aggro or playing standard. They almost always show up. Opponent trying to make a beacon work here, but that should not amount to anything. And let's see how this plays out. Smoke will land in full. We did shield, so at least part of our units here should be fine. And the right side, I mean, just look at how fast my sledges are. Keep in mind, I am taking high mobility here with the temp speed. And you can just look at how fast the sledgehammer is going to be. One of them split off and is fighting the arc light. And it will be able to win that fight just about. And now just look at it zooming. 17 meters a second. One faster than base crawlers. And yeah, I mean, those golden sledges moving in is definitely something to behold. We're picking up pace and our opponent is down to 2k hit points. Underground threat shows up. Nuke available as well. And my opponent goes for it. I wasn't expecting this. Nuke very expensive, and I felt like I was in a good spot, so I didn't really want to go for it. But yeah, opponent here wants to regain some tempo. I decided to go for the underground threat and place it all the way in the back. Oh, never mind. Kind of changing my mind there, and the idea was, well, this arc light is kind of close to this underground, and I can probably overwhelm it just with the amount of numbers from the crawlers. They've got pretty good DPS, so it should die. And then we can try and kill the tower. I go for replicate, of course, as I was expecting my opponent to go underground as well. And, I mean, the crawlers were getting in so far, so I don't think it's a bad pickup to try and create some crawler problems. Even into the arc lights here, it seems like it was a fine play. Marksman, I decided to give them range, kind of to keep them at arm's length and also make sure that they will stay behind the sledges and can clean up the phoenixes that might remain alive at the end of the round. Phoenixes, interestingly, still on the flank there, but they are mass produced, so only 100 cost, but the fangs won't really mind. Another arc light on the flank there won't amount to much, will just die while spawning in. The arc lights will die as well as planned. And I lose almost all of my forces on the left side to the nuke. But at the same time, it seems like we'll get debuff. Debuff coming in for my opponent too. But we're kind of trading here. And if we are lucky with our engagements, I still have a pack of fangs. So maybe we can get rid of these phoenixes. That'd be a huge pickup for me. Managing to win this round on my opponent for such an expensive spell, I would not mind whatsoever. And yeah, phoenixes will end up dying to those fangs. Lovely round for us there. Works out very well. So we enter round number 7 for the second rotation of 3 units. Raiden, Typhoon, Steel Ball, and Fortress show up. Opponents here going for the triple Typhoon. On my end, Raiden didn't look too great. I mean, maybe it was playable, but I felt kind of comfortable in my position. And so instead I decided to go for the fortresses as, well, I was expecting my opponent to just go for Raiden and try and punish my sledgehammers, but instead he goes triple Typhoon on the other side, buys a level 2 sandworm, instantly levels it so that it becomes level 3, gives it armor enhancement, loans, and buys another sandworm, which will also find its way onto the right side of my board. Safe to say, I wasn't expecting this. Those units were not offered in the free unit drop. The Typhoons were, but yeah. That is a very big swing. And you will see me put a missile interceptor on the right because, well, I thought he would just keep pressing the left side. And so I thought he would miss all this high level crawler, but doesn't really work out too well, right? Now, lucky for me, these sledgehammers are pretty high level, so we are managing to take out the level 1 typhoons for the most part, or at least kind of damage them. But these worms might be a bridge too far. 240k hit points, I'm not sure. Like, we got through, what is that, 25%? Maybe? But 200 cost units versus level 3 giants with tech. Yeah, I'm not sure I like those odds. I really don't. But oh well, let's see. Maybe the marksman and the fortress there can do something. I picked up the fortress, by the way, to go Fort AA. Again, was expecting Raidens. And I don't think it's the worst. It's a cheap tech, and I got the unit for free, so... It was a fine play. But yeah, the worms were a nice touch and something very unexpected, so... We're gonna have to deal with those now, and these are so high level, I'm not even sure what would take them down. I was a bit afraid of replicates being clicked, so I didn't want to go straight into melter because of that. And now we get another insane giant item there, portable shield. Yeah, it gets picked up. I'm sure it'll find its way onto one of the worms. Yeah, it will. The other one leveled instantly too. Scary stuff there, and you will see me unlock an elite recruit a factory because I don't know what else would be able to deal with the worms and a potential replicate. Overload instantly clicked. I am loaning now myself as well. We get some sledgehammers here on the flank. I'm going to put those there last turn to protect the crawlers and kill that arc light. I am selling out of my fortresses as well, as well, my opponents did not go for more air and instead seems to be way more ground focused. And well, let's just see how this goes. It'll pretty much come down to my factory and whether or not it's able to kill these worms. EMP or wasp come out from my opponent. Little bit surprised about that, but maybe he was expecting like a melter or something of the kind. I don't have the best counter into it, to be honest. I don't have a lot of anti-wasp. I just have a couple fangs, but they're in the front. So it should prove to be somewhat annoying. And yeah, I mean, let's see how this goes. Factory is in a bit of an awkward spot, but I didn't really have a better position for it on the board. Normal sandworm without the shield will go down pretty quickly, but these wasps, we have to keep an eye on them. Will they EMP the factory? They will, and that means no overload. Even though this worm is stuck on the sledgehammers there, we're shooting half as fast, and because of that, tower will go down sadly, and I think this war factory will die as well. We can speed things up a little bit, but this might just be another case of, well, the worm being an absolute nightmare to deal with. Tower should fall, let me say that, but yeah, the worm is going to be a bit too much. We do manage to take out all of the air units though, which is nice, saves us some hit points. But this worm is just absolutely unkillable. Kills my fortress and then just goes for my sledgehammers as well. Obviously, it got enough experience to level yet again. And things are getting a bit scary. Round 9 though, more free units. And now I think it might be time for Melter. I was expecting my opponent to go for the Phantom Rays here, as I have no good anti-air and 3 packs of them I think would be very annoying for me to deal with. And because of that, I was also thinking, well, Melting Point now might be kind of necessary. The Overlord, or the War Factory, rather, play with Overload didn't really work out too well. And so instead, we're making a bit of a pivot here, where I am going to try and use Melting Points with range and energy diffraction, and then try and buy more of them. I didn't want to play both Factory and Melting Point. This unit also does have an upkeep. So instead, I decided to sell. Kind of cut my losses. It was only a single tech on it anyway. and we go for more level 2 melting points. Levels very important on the melting point, by the way. Its scaling is not infinite. It does have a cap, and that cap will go up with each level. And the diffract beams only deal 17% of their original damage. So yeah, in order to make sure that these beams do deal some damage, the levels are quite important. We do shield. Smoke is back available. We use it on the left onto these arc lights. Oil as well to try and slow down the push somewhat. And let's see how this goes. Temp range, important here. Melters with diffract do lose a lot of their range. And so making sure that they're not on the front line is key. These wasps have EMP though, and yeah, ooh, they're getting EMP'd now, this melter. How much can we do is the question. Worm here should go down. We are locked onto the other one as well. But will we be able to take it down before the tower falls? Ooh, it's very close. We're locked onto the phoenixes. It's one more melter left. Sledges are there to protect. Maybe we can get a debuff. That is a level 3 tower though. And the worm luckily was low hit points, and so we do manage to take another round, but by the looks of it, that's not going to be enough to finish off my opponent. 207. So it'll take at least round 10 to be able to finish this. Now, photon coating is available. Quite good for me, as it'll prevent my melting points from getting EMP'd. However, it's not too bad for my opponent either, as what you will see is that I have these crawlers on the line, and the worms are 4 squares away from them. For those of you that don't know, worms do have range, even though they are classified as a melee unit. They can attack units up to 40 meters away. And so, in this scenario, the worms are actually going to be attacking the crawlers right off spawn instead of burrowing, and that will make sure that they do get hit by photon. If they burrow, normally speaking, you cannot hit them with photon, but this is one of the rare exceptions. We get a beacon onto the left tower, trying to avoid my melters. Underground available for me. I try to go for that all the way in the back. Also decide to go for the impact drill there to try and get to the towers as fast as I can. But I mean, look at the respect for my opponent. Blue arc lights all the way in the back. 1, 2 of them. And the third one picked up. Is that going to go? It is going to go all the way in the back as well. So yeah, well, that play is not going to work out for me. But let's see how this plays out. Another melter picked up on my end. But those are going to get avoided. And so we'll have to see how much this is going to do. The jump drive wasp come out, moving them onto the left side. And yeah, my anti-air on that side, not the best. Crawlers will be dealt with. Arclights almost dying, but not quite. These Arclights do have EMP on them as well, by the way, so lots of units to try and disable my melters with. Now, all of these wasps are moving in. I do have a lot of melters, but most of them are getting EMP'd. And I've got units trying to work away at my shield and my tower on top of things. How much can we kill? We kind of need to get rid of some of these, because I don't want to die in one turn. 2300 though, you've got to imagine we should be able to survive. But that's a big round for my opponent. Good beacon. And yeah, the wasps overwhelming the left side. And now we go down to 556. Round 11. EMP shows up. I decide to pick it up because for the same reason he could photon his worms, I can probably also EMP them, granted that these crawlers remain alive. He might be able to miss all them and then they will still burrow. I decided to go for Shielded Fang in this case because my opponent doesn't really have anything to deal with it apart from 2 level 1 Typhoons, and he started selling out of them. This is just to try and stop my opponent in his tracks and leave the worms above ground for long enough for the melters to kill them. I decided to sell one of my melters because I was kind of expecting he might go for a similar play, and this allows me to add more melters on the left side. We get temp range, and we also managed to get electromagnetic shot now on our sledgehammers. This should help getting rid of the text on the arc light. It will also make the worms a bit less tanky, as it will disable the 50% HP increase from armor. And yeah, let's see how this goes. Opponent, though, goes for the electromagnetic impact and has the nuke off cooldown again. So, a little scary. It will kill my sledgehammers, but all of these melters are tanky enough to withstand it. Wasps remain in place. And, well, let's cross our fingers. I have no idea who will win this. Charge shot phoenixes, by the way. Melters are locking on. The shielded fangs doing a good job. Annoying for those wasps as well. 5 beams. A pop trying to hit the melter, the wasps, sorry, but the melters will get EMP'd after all. Lucky for me, it seems like we did get rid of one of the worms. Uh-oh, tower debuff though will come through, it looks like. Worm will go underground. Have got a melter here though that is locked onto the tower. That is level 3, but still 5 seconds of debuff could make the difference. Worm is approaching the melters. Tower will go down. 5 seconds of debuff. Worm comes out of the ground. And I think with that, we should be able to kill that abomination of a giant that's caused us so much trouble in the mid-game. And finally, we do manage to win. Scary game. Big pivot from my opponent there, using the Typhoon unit drop and going for the giants, those worms on the right side. I wasn't expecting it at all, and it did almost lose me the game eventually. Some cool mid-game stuff, or well, end-game stuff even, with the photon on the worms, something that is rarely possible. And yeah, we managed to come out ahead. After all, I tried 2 different things that I think are the only answers into this worm play with these levels, which was the Overload Factory, and then eventually the Melter, which we got from a free unit drop. And just going for the pivot and utilizing all our resources towards the Melter ended up paying off. Shielded Fang, I think, was clutch. EMP on the Sledgehammers, I think, did really well on top of things. And yeah, crazy game. Let me know what you thought about this down below. Do you like playing sledges? Do you struggle with it, or do you do well with it? Let me know. If you want to stay up to date with my latest content, please do consider subscribing. If you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. And with that being said, have a lovely rest of your day. Take care, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.